Today I'm going to be changing the secondary air injection hoses on my 2005 Speed Triple. I was riding it last week and I noticed that the idle seemed a little bit rougher than usual, and it seemed to be backfiring a bit more. And there's also a slight, almost like a washing noise coming down from somewhere in the engine. It might be just because of the hot weather lately, so we'll see whether that actually fixes that or not. But anyway, I had a closer look and I noticed that these secondary air injection hoses were split, so they need to be replaced. Just to show you where they are, so you can see just there, you can see just there that that one's just split open. And if you go around the other side to a lesser extent, it's also split, so that's a sort of a 3-into-1 into the well, it goes into the engine block, but it actually goes down to the exhaust ports. The idea of this secondary air injection is to inject some additional air into the exhaust port of the engine. That then promotes burning of unburnt fuel within the exhaust system. You'd think that would make it pop a bit more, but apparently that makes it backfire less. Anyway, it's been introduced more for sort of emissions reasons. Some people block it off completely. I don't see any reason to take this away from stock. If you do block it, you're meant to remap the engine, which I don't have the facility to do that. And I want to keep it stock as much as possible, really. So I've got a replacement hose, a replacement overpriced hose, and this little piece here. I don't know if mine's actually split, but that's connected just above it. So I thought I'll replace that while I'm at it. And also just some hose clips. Expensive hose clips, you could just use your own ones, but these are the official parts, so I thought I'll get them all in one go. I think the parts are about 40 quid in total. I'll put the actual price on the screen here. So first thing to do is to remove the tank. So tank removal's in a separate video, just because I'll do that quite a lot for various jobs. Once the fuel tank's off, you've then got access to all of this stuff around here. Air box, which comes out quite easily, and if you take that off, you've got access to the top of the engine. So while I was taking the tank off, my ceiling lights failed, so apologies for the poor lighting, probably for the rest of this video. You can see that fail if you go to my tank video. Anyway, with the tank off, we can now got access to the airbox, which we're going to have to remove as well, and we got our first glimpse at the top of the secondary air injection. So if you recall, I bought that extra hose just as a precautionary check. So actually, as a first glimpse, it probably looks okay. So you can see that top hose goes from the airbox down to, I think it's some sort of a valve. There's a valve there. Then it goes down to the three-way manifold, which is where it's split. So that would probably indicate maybe some of the rough running, because if that valve's shut to stop the air from getting into the exhaust, and I'm stretching my knowledge a little bit here, the exhaust oxygen sensor might sense too much oxygen. Anyway, that's just a theory, we'll see. But yeah, so I'm going to need to get that clip off, and I'm going to take this whole thing off with the T30 screwdriver. Pull the airbox off and have a closer look. Okay, first clip. How does this one work? Okay, so just a little metal clip that you can just prise off. Just put that back there for safekeeping. Okay, first one off. Don't know what it does. T30. Okay, there's a Phillips down there. Okay, so if you get pliers on it like that, you can see it loosens that hose, then it'll just pull off. Okay, you just got this pair of connectors here, and then the airbox will come off. In theory. Oh, hang on, there's another pliers. See, there's another little hose connector just down here. Yep. I just pull it, just give it a yank. See, that hose came off there, so don't forget that one. And now you've exposed the throttle bodies. A little bit dirty down there, actually. Might need to come back to that later as well. Obviously, while you're working on here, don't drop anything into here, because that's going to go straight into the engine. Okay, so this could all do with a bit of a clean up, but for today we're just going to focus on the secondary air injection lines. We've got 3 more hose clips here, and all of this should come out. You can see you've got this valve here, so yeah. What I'm going to do is take that one first. I don't know if you can see this, but the this little valve has just got a little electrical connector there, just so you're free. Yeah, that's completely perished. So this hose actually isn't in a too bad condition. Now I've got the spare, I'm just going to put a new one on it anyway, but that didn't actually need replacing. Right, let's get the 3-way one. So you can see this had more than a small air leak. Some of that will be where I pulled it off, but it was completely perished. I would have thought these clips can actually be reused. I've got some new ones anyway, but yeah, they look like they will be able to be reused, so yeah, that's good. Okay, so with all that off, I'm just going to take this upper hose off the little valve. It's actually got, oh, no, it hasn't. Okay, so all the hoses are off now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pre-fit the clips onto the hoses themselves, just so they're in place and I don't drop them down inside the engine. And then I'm just going to refit it all. So if you're not using new clips, or if you're using your own stuff, this top one, that one's slightly larger than all the others. So this one's the same as the 4 on the 3-way manifold, and that one's a little bit larger. So I find the best way to fit these clips is use a pair of pliers with the jaws that are wide enough to go on both of the teeth. So that way you can just open it all up like that, and it should grip onto it. So that makes it relatively easy. And you can see the size difference there from the old one to the new one, so clearly the old one's been stretched out quite a lot. So when you put that on, that clip will go quite tight. They don't feel They don't feel all that tight when you first put them on. So this is the new manifold with 4 clips attached. So just make sure your orientation is correct here. So once you've got one of the pipes on, generally the others are just going to follow. So this bit here goes down into the 3-valve manifold. You've got the electrical connection coming off the side, and then the connection to the airbox goes in this sort of way. So that will sit down in there, that'll come up in the airbox, and that'll go down to the manifold. So I've just slid the hose back up, the hose clip back up a little bit, push that on, and then I'll move that clip down to hold it in place. There you go. Ready to put onto the airbox. So when you're putting these in, make sure the clips are oriented so you can actually get your pliers onto them nice and easily. Okay, right, that's all that one on. Put the valve connection on a bit further. So once you're happy that's all tight, just put your electrical connector back together. Top that out of the way. And it's weird because that looks like it would sit on a like a mount or something, but it is actually just floating free on 9. So okay, if you're happy with that, get the airbox back on. My mistake, it actually does have a little mount just on the back of the airbox. So when you put this back on, so you need this to connect to the pump. You need to make sure this hose is on. You've got this hose here to connect underneath, and you've got this one here to connect underneath. And obviously make sure that these things are all out the side so you don't nip them, and you get the airbox connected up to your throttle body, because it's not going to run very well if you've not getting any air through. So that's what we'll do now. So I'm going to push that in first. So I haven't put the clip on yet, I've just made sure it's in position. That's that one. Get that one in. That one in. And just get that clip moved back up. Yeah, slightly perished on that hose actually, but should be okay. I don't think it connects to anything. Don't forget to remove your electrical connection and put it up onto here, like I did. That's one. Where's the other one? Okay, so don't do what I did. Make sure you get the 2 electrical connections, just pull them out so they don't get trapped underneath. Okay, so front hose is on, this little hose is on, and so is this one. You've got your 2 electrical, have I? Got 1 electrical connection out. Where's the other one? Got 2 electrical connections out. So once you're happy, you've lined up the 3 air holes onto the throttle body, just push it down and hopefully it will go on. Okay, so it's a bit of a pain to get this on, and as you see, I'll get a close up in a sec, but one of the little seals that goes onto the throttle body, it isn't actually got a hole through it, but it's just starting to perish a little bit, so I don't want to push it too hard. So I'm going to put a little bit of O-ring lube onto where the seals happen. So I'll put a little bit of O-ring lube just around, might even put it on here actually, where just to help the mating surfaces. So obviously don't go mental with this, but just a small little bit. So just line up, make sure you don't knock any of the springs off or anything. Line it up. If you really struggle, just take this off and the air filter out and you'll be able to see a lot easier. Okay, so that's all in line now. Okay, they're all on. Now, as you might expect, you're just going to be refitting in the reverse order from what you took it apart with. Get that screw down there. I don't actually know if that screw holds down the airbox or whether it's holding down the lid. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Get one of the sensors on there and then get the other one on. Not quite sure what these are. I think one might be the map sensor. Two screws down here. You might have guessed, but to put the tank back on, it's the reverse of taking it off. So the secondary air injection hoses have been replaced now. Everything's back together. Picked up a couple of jobs on the way that I need to do in future. Fuel tank's back on. I'll take it for a test drive and I'll report back. Sorry about the lighting. I'll have to fix that as well. I'm just back from the test drive. I came inside because it's too dark in the garage without my main light. So I suppose most importantly, the bike started up fine and it rode with no issues. So that's always the sign of a job well done. The bike was noticeably smoother at slower speeds. Previously, in sort of first and second gear at slower speeds, the throttle would be quite snatchy. When I was riding it the last couple of weeks, possibly even before that as well. I don't know how long those hoses were split for. When I was riding around in sort of first and second gear, the throttle was quite snatchy, sort of jerk forwards a little bit and be a little bit unpredictable, but that's smoothed out now, so it's riding a lot nicer. It also backfires a lot less. At higher speeds, when you've got the throttle sort of wide open, there's not such a difference, but at slower speeds and sort of medium, and when you're coming off the throttle, changing down gears, it's much smoother. So clearly the secondary air injection hoses being split was causing some fuel mix issues. That's now been solved. New hoses are on. Total cost was about £40. So the big hose, sort of the 3-way or 4-way hose, was about sort of 20 quid. The smaller hose was, I think, just under a tenner, and then the little clips were sort of about £1.50 each or something like that. So with VAT and delivery and all that, it's about 40 quid for the entire job. So I think that's pretty good. If I were to block the secondary air injection off completely, so presumably I would block the 3 ports going into the engine block and block the airbox port, and then take the hose and the extra valve off. You then have to remap the ECU, which I don't currently have the facilities to do. I'm not sure if that gives you a performance increase or anything like that, or whether it just reduces a complexity that you don't really need. So if anyone knows, let me know. Clearly 20-year-old bike, some of the soft parts are going to start to perish. I think there's some other areas underneath the airbox which are possibly starting to perish as well. So I might need to replace those in future. So yeah, I'm going to go and fix my light now. A bit less exciting than the bike.